Cultural Center, Independence Square, where we took a production team. Folks on the street acted to explain DNA. And they are not far from what it is. Parenthood. So people appreciate that we inherit our DNA from our parents. 2018, when we launched the Sickle in Africa Network, where we're studying the genetics of sickle cell patients. And so we can see from this slide in 2018, it is not now that we have been engaging our local communities. We've always felt that our genes actually don't belong to us. Our genes were passed on to us by our parents, and before them, their parents. So our approach to studying genetics is that we are studying a commodity that belongs to the community, which is why we always make the effort to engage the community. We have to develop those in the clinic, and the Ghana Psychology Council will supervise that. Another year, so after 3 years, this photo scientists by the name of Sir Alan Jeffers has started manipulating DNA to create the DNA fingerprint. In those days in London, there used to be a group of lawyers that would be free legal advice. It's called a law center.
The road trip is really to get our communities to become aware of the problem. So the road trip is a public education, right? And at the same time trying to engage local leaders to appreciate that this is a problem in their communities and that they can actually do something about it. So that's why we're doing the road trip. We didn't want to just do a launch in Accra and just forget about it. There are problems all across the country, and so that is why it's important to take this message to all parts of the country. We're doing 8 cities. I wish we could do more. But let me take a simple one. If anybody here took the pledge and you have a baby that has sickle cell disease, if you do the pledge and get the baby tested for sickle cell disease, or actually you have a baby that you don't know has sickle cell disease, you get the baby tested before their first immunization and you find they have sickle cell disease, there is something you can do. It's a very simple treatment for sickle cell disease that involves giving the child penicillin so they don't get infection. And so, we believe that currently, without screening and giving penicillin, about 75% of all babies born with sickle cell disease in sub-Saharan Africa die before the age of 5. And so the question as to what do you get out of it, you get to save your child. If a child has sickle cell disease and you give them penicillin, they are not going to die of infection. So we have to look forward, not back. Babies diagnosed with leukemia or cancers in Ghana every year, 400 babies. Okay. So that's just what we call in our field just the incidence, right? So every year, 400 children get diagnosed with leukemia, cancers, including.
How worrying is this trend?
It's not a trend; it's a reality. It's every year people get diabetes. Every year people get heart attacks. Every year people get hypertension. With children, every year people get diagnosed with leukemias. Every year people get malaria. So it's not unique in terms of people getting afflicted with disease. I am focusing on childhood cancers because cancers typically are caused by changes in our DNA. But we don't have the capacity to look into the DNA of these children to be able to tell them that this is what is causing the cancer. That's why it's important to do this. But in terms of 400, I can't give statistics as to what it was 10 years ago and what it is now. But I know in the last few years, every year, 400 kids get diagnosed with cancer. So we have to take care of them. We have to take care of them. Cancer is not unique in terms of a disease. We get sick all the time. So I'm shining a light on childhood cancers. Somebody else can shine a light on diabetes. Somebody else can shine a light on malaria. Somebody else. So everybody has a disease that they want to focus on. I'm focusing on childhood cancers because if we are able to establish the capacity to look and find the mutations that are causing this, at the very least, you cannot underestimate the importance of being able to tell a family that this is why your child is sick. You cannot underestimate that, right? You have families who have children who are sick and they don't know why they are sick. right? So even having the diagnosis, even if there is not a therapeutic intervention immediately, but being able to know that this is why my child is sick gives you peace of mind. And you cannot underestimate that. Treating. Once you start treating, you make families happy. I am very, very pleased that I have all these microphones being shoved up my face, because it tells me that the media is engaged, and I want you guys to take this on. I can't reach the thousands and millions of people that you can reach, and so I would really encourage you to use the platform you have to educate people about disease. And when you're educating people, the primary role we all have is the provision of information, not telling people who they can marry and they cannot marry. That's none of our business. But we should give information so people know what their risks are for certain diseases. And so my last, that piece for me is you can do it better than me. I sit in the lab, look at DNA, whereas you sit at your radio stations and broadcast to millions of people.
Improve a mother-son relationship. And of course, the media were there to lock it up in this line. And so this was a nice story in the local newspaper where the colleague who know of Onote Ahu, the great Ghanian, who began to tease out